back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today, we're focused on Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 7, The Dominion. And I have a subspace transmission coming here. I got to make sure. Oh, hey, Trev, how's it going?
Oh, it's just Trek Thursday.
Listen, Trev, we're having some, I'm on the run. I'm a fugitive here, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind helping me out and my crew here and giving us like a safe place to hide. Like, is that cool with you?
Of course it is.
Well, okay, cool. So Trev, let me ask you, how did we meet? Do you remember?
Just send me your location, Sohail. It's fine.
You know what? On second thought, never mind. Just kidding. I don't know. Thanks for going with that improv.
The worst part about it was my inability to not smile. Like I was like trying. I don't know. I'll do better next time. I swear.
I like the creepy voice that you were doing, kind of like, "Oh yeah, just send your location. I'll be there."
That was my best creepy Tuvok. You're welcome.
Spoilers. By the way, hello Stanley. How are you?
Ahoy, hoy! I'm doing fantastic.
Nice. You sound good with this other mic. It's not your main mic, but we'll figure that out later. It's totally fine. We got a lot of folks in the audience. Yeah, it's just we got a lot of folks in the audience and a lot of chats. Like, I can't scroll back this far, you guys. This is awesome. I will have to
everybody calm down. Just kidding.
Yeah, this is a good episode. By the way, this is not all of us. I'm just stalling because where I live, it was raining and people forget how to drive when it rains, so it took extra long for me to get here. So I didn't send the subspace communications out or anything else. Do I sound fine to you guys, by the way? Audience, do I sound fine to you guys as well?
You sound good to me.
Good to you. All right, Trev, good?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Excellent. Let's see who's responded here. That's weird. Oh, because I didn't send the link. Okay. We're so organized here on Starfleet Boy. It's so pro. Hashtag so pro. You know how it is. Let's see here. All right, now I'm sending the link. So would one of you guys want to do the episode summary? Because I didn't write one this week either.
I was worried this was going to happen, and I was like, "Oh, should I write something?" I can attempt it off the cuff. I've watched it 3 times now, so I feel like I've got at least a good handle on it.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes, you do the summary. I'll take care of the technical stuff. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, in this episode, we find our heroes laying low, trying to hide from an ever increasingly compromised Starfleet. We start with spoiler alert, red alert, a lovely and then not so lovely cameo from Tim Russ as Captain Tuvok. We discover that he is unfortunately taken over by a changeling, and we don't know what happened to actual Tuvok. Hopefully we'll find out in the next couple of episodes. And so our heroes figure out more and more ships are being taken. They're getting ever closer to Frontier Day, where they're anticipating the entire fleet being involved in some sort of massive incident. And so they lay a trap for Captain Vadic for Captain Vadic, and lure her and her changeling horde onto the Titan. We get a bunch of fun scenes with various duos with Data 2 and Geordi trying to get this new android with all of his personalities squared away, where we get some scenes with Picard and Beverly having quite a few moral dilemmas as parents. We get Jack and Sydney action duo shipping them, and we get stumbling over this one. We get Jack ability watch triggered because we now see even more.
You're doing a great job.
We see even more is happening with Jack and adventure ensues. I know I'm missing steps. I didn't write out my beats yet.
Sydney and Jack, did you talk about that? I didn't hear that part because I was
Adventure duo, yes.
You did?
We also, yes.
Did you talk about Vadic's origins?
We did not. So yes, we learn about Vadic's origins as a prisoner of the Dominion War on Daystrom Station, which is more and more looking like that's just like the fun name. Really, it's a Section 31 dark site. And we find out that Vadic actually took over the form of a Section 31 agent who was torturing her and other changelings. Harkening back to Terry Metalis and saying that they couldn't put out more about Vadic before now because too much would be given away, which I agree after watching this episode. And I think that covers most of it for us to get into the discussion.
Great job, Stan.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great summary. Bridge clap. Very nice. So yeah, well, let's start with what did you guys think? Stan, you can just continue because yeah, what'd you think of this episode?
Sure. I mentioned this to Trev earlier. At first, I felt it was a little wonky. This was not my favorite episode of this season, though I did enjoy it. But on now 2 rewatches, I liked it more and more each time, getting more of the subtlety. And I don't know if it was, watching it late last night or missing a few key details, or there's also, I think I'm also one of those people who's struggling with some of the turns for our characters, and not in a bad way, just in a, I don't like that they're doing that. But on further rewatching, you know what, I'm enjoying that. We've got people who are cornered. We've got people who are trying to protect their children and their other loved ones. And in those kinds of times, we often consider doing things and do things that we otherwise wouldn't. And so the moral conundrum sort of grew on me as a story for these characters to get through.
Right on. What did you think, Trev? And hi, welcome, Braxton, by the way. We're missing Toddy. Toddy's supposed to be here too, but he'll come along at some point, I'm sure. And others.
He just actually texted, "What time are we going live?" So, yeah, that's an issue.
Just don't come on, Toddy, if you're watching this. Just don't come on. You can just
text him back so he'll say now.
No, I raced home for him because he can only go on at 6:30. First of all, he can just chill and watch the show. Be active in the comments. It's fine. If you pop in, I'm not letting you on. No, I'm just kidding. I might. Anyways, Trev, what'd you think of the episode?
This is the first one in this is episode 7, correct? So the first in 7 episodes where I just walked away kind of I didn't dislike it. And when we get to my final ratings, you'll see it's still quite high. But probably the lowest of the 7 for me. Because this was the first one that felt like the middle of something. It didn't feel like an episode. It just felt like a quick, let's unhatch our weird caper. And when the caper was over, I'm like, well, that was a bad plan, which it was from the beginning. And looking back at it, I'm like, why did we need the changelings to chase everyone through the ship before we activated a series of sequential force fields when we could have just locked them down in the frickin' shuttle bay? What was the purpose of getting everyone to chase everyone through the ship other than a fun chase scene? So, I don't want to get I hate getting super in universe granular, but the plan was just dumb.
I have an answer already, but go on now.
The plan was dumb. There's no answer, Sohail. The plan was dumb.
You're I Sohail proofed this one.
also we have our ship we're pretending that it doesn't work, and so we're going to invite people onto it, and it turns out actually nothing does work. And by the way, a android with multiple personalities, several of which are slightly, crazy, we're going to go ahead and activate that android while we're at it. So it just seemed like no one was. It was one of those plans where I'm like, did anyone talk about this during the briefing? Did no one share what they were going to be up to? And also, and I think Jill mentioned this in the comments earlier, and I 1,000% agree with her. I'm tired of the Jack mystery. Like I have complimented this season all along with the give us a mystery, solve a mystery kind of pace that we've been getting. And I understand there needed to be sort of an undercurrent or a thread that ran through the entire series, or through the entire season, or at least several of the episodes. But I'm done. Like, just tell me what's up with Jack, because I'm tired of worried about it. And that sounds super negative, and that's just because it was the most negative I have this season. Everything else has been great, and I still enjoyed myself. I was just kind of meh. I wanted more, and I'm still bitter that I don't have anything to say about Deanna yet, because I've been waiting for her for 7 episodes.
Neither she nor Riker in this episode. Very conspicuous.
Yeah, I need her to do more than nag or get captured. And there was something else that annoyed me. Oh, I always have a thing that I need at the end of some of these episodes, and I need to know that real Tuvok is okay or dead. I don't want him to be dead, but I just need to know where the hell he is. I just need an answer to that. Don't leave it a mystery.
Tuvok. I'm worried about Tuvok.
I don't want him to be dead, but if he's dead, just tell me he's dead.
I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. Braxton, are you you're here to let's pile on while we're at it. Are you ready to talk about Jack?
Say bad things about Jack. No.
So I'm kind of with Trev. You know, I think that they're dragging the what is Jack storyline out too long. You know, this episode like started on a high for me. You know, when it started, I was like looking down at my phone, and then like I heard a familiar voice, so I looked up and I said, "Oh wow, Tuvok!" And then 7 of 9 was like, "Oh, something Calto," and he was like, "Oh yeah, you used to beat me like all the time." And I was like, "Is that how Tuvok would answer that question?" You know. And then she hit him with the, "Oh yeah, like how I got myself like the whatever link thing that she was talking about."
She hit him with the ferocity of a Vulcan would never go to this planet, blah blah blah, and that brain thing was corrected by my friend Tuvok.
I remember the mind meld, but I don't remember like the thing that was going haywire with her at the time. So
that episode either.
So like I
loved it.
and I loved seeing 7, in the captain's chair, like leading the crew, talking to Tuvok, so it started out on a real high for me. And then I felt very deflated by that not actually being Tuvok, by it being a changeling. And then, like, I don't know, I felt like the only time that I really felt anything in the show was like at the very beginning, and then it left me feeling deflated. And then a thing that really stuck out to me was that the changeling had said that, like the Federation didn't really give us, like the cure, to the disease or whatever, But then I remember Odo like stepping into like the living waters of the Great Link when they were like all brown and blue, like stepping in like with that tuxedo on and like saying his goodbyes to Kira, and then like the link like turning yellow like they typically are. So I don't know.
It's like a gold bronze, I think. But yeah.
So that was really weird to me. And then at the end, like, he like did the puppeteer stuff with Sydney. I was like, oh wow, like that's crazy. And then I thought they were going to tell us at the end, but they didn't. I thought
one more episode. Vatic is like at the end. She's like, Jack, it's time you learned who you really are. Come on, it's like they tell you at the end of this episode you're gonna find out.
I thought it was interesting. Like she was like, oh yeah, Beverly, like he wasn't really for you. I was like, ooh wow. She's like, oh girl, that's my baby that was in you that you carried for me. Like, ooh, wow.
Well, it's not hers either, but yeah, but whose baby was Jack supposed to be? I have a theory.
Yeah, I have concerns about that. I'm intrigued to see how they handle it, but it feels I'm gonna invoke.
They're dragging it out.
It feels very The Child. which was.
They're dragging it out, Stan, because it's going to be terrible. The reveal is going to be terrible.
I don't know that that's true.
Next week, like it's going to be like a Rafi Wharf episode, and then we're just going to get all of this like in one episode at the end. But thank goodness it's almost over.
You know, I'm glad that you put up this comment because hi, I'm Jack from Joel. Hi, I'm Jack. I get a new power every week. Something that's been on my mind the last couple of episodes, especially, we are seeing some things in season 3. This is not a negative, but that we got in their own way in the Disco universe on Disco. So, for example, Jack constantly having something new going on, and we're figuring it out. I remember in season 1 and then season 2, it was like, well, what's Saru's new ability? There are little themes propping up, and my spidey senses are up about it only because we're not seeing the loud people complain about it now when they were about Disco. And I just like calling out that shitty behavior when I see it. I don't think it was a negative for Disco. I don't think it's a negative here. I do think it's interesting when those loud, obnoxious people don't bring it up when the same thing is happening on a white person-led show.
I haven't seen those loud people for Disco or this because I'm really good at muting people. So I really curated my
I'm working on it.
Twitter
I'm working on it.
My Twitter experience. So I think that overall though, like it's clear because which, by the way, little Star Trek news, they're setting the Starfleet Academy show possibly in the 32nd century, it looks like, based on some of the clues that were given. And so to me, that sends a clear message that Disco's very popular. So I think it's like, you know, with anything social media, like whoever has the loudest boost or whatever, you know, like whoever's like making the most noise tends to stand out, but they may not have the majority opinion. And it looks like if they're, I can't imagine they didn't do their research and they're just like, oh, let's just set it in the 32nd century. I think this is like also a treat to me because I was really bummed about Disco leaving at season 5. And so now it feels like it's a continuation of that. So yeah, I do agree that like, but I do agree that in general, like, as a fan of Picard season 1 and 2, I see a lot of people love it on Picard season 3. And a part of me is just like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Glad you're discovering the show's cool. You know, like it's.
I went on this rant earlier myself. Like, all social media is a cultivated thing, right? My feed is cultivated by my interactions, same as everyone else's. And so, like, I don't mind the negativity or like I didn't like this. Where I get frustrated is when people try to say things like nobody likes Disco, that's why it was canceled. Well, it wasn't exactly like canceled. They're getting more money to rework the last little bit. It's ending, and it has several more seasons than most shows in this era get.
And there's a myriad of reasons why it could be ending. Like, who knows? We don't even know. You know, like it could be a lot of different. There could be a lot of different factors. But anyways, also I just want to say that, like, you know, that being said, I also recognize that I was in the minority among friends also with Picard season 1 and 2. I mean, I really love those 2 seasons, but I recognize that like a lot of people did not appreciate the direction that they decided to take this character into, whereas I just ate it up all. So yeah, I recognize that I'm an exception perhaps to that, but I'm loving season 3.
I'm on board with you in that. Like I thought the first 2 seasons were great, but a little wonky. It's a similar thing. Like, people who didn't like it, sure. What's interesting to me is when people are like, don't watch the first 2 seasons, just get into season 3. I'm like, so 7 just happens to be there with no backstory. Like, you miss out on so much. Like, why Picard and Beverly, like, it hits no matter when you come into this show, but I think it hits so much deeper and better based on what we've seen in season 1 and 2 with Picard's growth. So I'm with you, Sahil.
What I really want to know is those people that only watched season 3 and didn't watch season 1 and 2, how confused were they when someone stole Picard's body from Daystrom Station? And that's what you get for being shitheads that didn't watch the first 2 seasons.
Someone asked about that on the last stream, Sohail, in the YouTube comments.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Yeah, it can happen, but I think they've done I think they'll probably bring it whenever whatever's going on is revealed. They'll probably bring it up again and explain it. But yeah, I agree. Although they've been talking about the synth thing a lot too to kind of catch folks up as well. But yeah, that's pretty funny. I just didn't realize, like, what? Why does Picard's body in this thing?
How does he
That
have
is
another
pretty-
body? Yeah. It's quite interesting. My favorite thing about it's weird. I have a very silver lining attitude about a lot of things, which kind of gets annoying after a while. But with respect to like people that didn't like Picard season 1 or didn't like season 2, whatever the case may be, didn't like Disco, I'm just happy there's so much Trek that you can not like some of it and still have Trek.
Yeah.
Like, that's always been my favorite thing about this current era, is that if you think that Lower Decks is silly, I think you're wrong. But good news, there's more Trek for you, so shush. But the people that just are all NU Trek is horrible, those people obviously just have their own issues to resolve, and I choose not to engage and try to curate my feed accordingly. But yeah, it's a double-edged sword with the popularity of season 3, because I'm thrilled that everyone's enjoying it, but I'm also like, but why didn't you like the other stuff? Like, I get a little hurt feelers about it, but what else.
Beth Smith, where is Will Wheaton or Wesley? And a lot of little laughy faces. In the scene where Vadic changes into Jack, I was really, for a second, hoping she was going to change into Wesley, because the line is perfect. Like, where she says, like, how do you feel about losing another son, right? Like, it would have been pretty cool, but it's cool. I get it. You got to, there's a lot of people already. I mean, we've got Tuvok in this episode. You can't just have, like, all the stars, right? Or maybe you can. I don't know. It could work.
The budget only accommodates so many additional.
We don't know how much Tuvok cost. Like, Tuvok could be pretty. Tuvok cameo could be pretty expensive. It might have just been the little bit that, like. Although I suspect Will Wheaton would have done it for free. He's in every ready room. He just kind of slightly mentions, like, I don't get to develop my character anymore, but you do. And so it's like really cute and sad. Speaking of the ready room, if you guys like Tuvok and Tim Russ, he was the feature on this episode, and he was really cool to hear his opinions on newer Star Trek, his opinions on what Jerry Ryan has done with 7 of 9. I thought it was really great, and just like the experience of coming back as Tuvok, it was really delightful, even though it's not really Tuvok we saw to see him. But yeah, let's talk about that scene a little. I know, Trev, you mentioned that you just want to know if Tuvok is all right, so it's giving you a lot of anxiety. And Braxton, you kind of highlighted it in your statement, but as Voyager fans, like, were you guys nervous, like, the first time watching it? Like, did you suspect he was going to be a changeling? And by the way, how gruesome was it that he turns into like a dead looking Riker and then taunts Picard too? Like these changelings are mean. They're mad. Like, and now we know why.
It was gruesome, but also weird. Like, what? Like, why was he the beat up Riker? Like, it just,
or the dead. I think that's
Or
just to
dead
evoke
Riker. Like,
fear. I think that's just to purely to evoke some kind of fear and like a human seeing it. Like, if you saw like a zombie dead person, like, who's your best friend, I think that's how mean these changelings are. They're like, we're gonna scare the heck out of you any chance we get.
Guess. It felt out of place.
I slightly disagree, because I felt like we were due for another Riker. We haven't had a new one since Thomas, so now we get dead zombie Riker.
It's been a while.
These changelings
Cosplay alert.
More
aren't
action
any
figure
worse than the last.
These changelings, what?
These changelings aren't any worse than the last. Like, the last
they were
ones,
pretty brutal,
like,
and mean.
they had slaves. Like, they didn't care how many billions of people died. Like, we're used to changelings being awful and extremely cruel.
But
it did seem.
Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I like that Braxton brought that up, because there was a weird, like, I went on a very weird emotional roller coaster with Vadic's sort of during her massive exposition scene, where she was kind of explaining not only her origins, but talking about how horrible, we had only begun the war when you turned to genocide. And I'm like, the founders regularly would just like spread plagues and wipe out whole planets. Like it. So I went on this weird like, oh, you're right, you were just engaged in warfare, and then they did this genocidal thing. But you guys also do the genocide a lot. Like it was this very weird kind of trip that I was on, where I was feeling sympathetic and then also angry for her making me feel sympathetic. Uh, which I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's the trip that I was on. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I don't know if I landed feeling super sympathetic though, which also kind of bothers me because I want to be mad about the genocide, but I'm also like, because that should just like by default as human beings, we should all just accept that genocide is never right. Like that just seems like it shouldn't be an argument. But I'm like, why are you getting all high and mighty? Like your entire species regularly wipes people out. Like that just feels weird. So anyway, that was my ramble.
That's good. Did you? So I wondered about that because it's been such a long time since I've seen Deep Space Nine that I wondered if that was correct or not because it seemed right to me. Oh, here's Toddy! Yay! I just want to say that I think you're a changeling duplicate and that you better watch out because Toddy's not like ever this late. And also, I rush home in traffic just for you, so that because you were like, I can't go on later.
I simply cannot.
I can only go on at 6:30, but that's okay. You're here now, so it's cool.
I was actually bidding on the fact that you were going to be late, so that I didn't seem so late. I was like, oh, we'll start at 7. It's fine. And then, so I created my own predicament, I guess.
As you always do.
I'm sorry for being late, everyone. Hello.
I don't give anyone else a hard time about being late, by the way. It's casual and formal. You can always come on, but I just love taking opportunities to give you a hard time.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the only reason why I'm giving you a hard time. Also, we have an announcement coming out on Saturday.
Did you watch the thing that I sent you?
No, I've been busy all day.
Oh my goodness.
Day. I had to rush.
This is what he's talking about, people.
Yeah, Saturday we have an announcement. Toddy and I just stay tuned on Toddy's channel. Toddy's channel for that announcement. Toddy, we were talking about Vadic and the changelings and how like Trev and Trev had brought up the point about how like Vadic was like, you guys did this genocide while we were engaging in warfare, but during what I was getting ready to say is like I've been kind of removed from Deep Space Nine. It's been a long time since I've kind of seen those later seasons. I've seen the first 3 seasons like 5 times recently because I kept trying to do it on a drunk show, and well, I don't remember them, so that's how that went. But anyways, so they were doing genocide and stuff like that. So Vadic's kind of not like she's kind of twisting it maybe, or like what do you think's up with that, or was it gray?
I think that Section 31 and a few like horrible organizations are responsible for some dreadful things that I think, yes, were probably much worse than what like the Dominion were doing in terms of warfare. Though breeding an entire species and keeping them addicted to a certain drug just to have them fight for you seems a little, it's a little hypocritical to say that we weren't. Like that seems a little terrible to me, but okay. But no, I think that she is kind of like lumping in the Federation with all of the organizations, or like Section 31 in particular, for being bad. It's like, on one hand, the Federation has to take responsibility for what Section 31 is and how it's evolved and how it's grown. But on the other hand, like it is kind of like a rogue operation, it would seem, that's doing its own thing, and it's going by its own laws and own ideals, even, or enforcing the same ideals but with like different methods. Put it that way, I guess.
I think they're just terrible. I mean, like what they were doing to the changelings.
Oh,
like,
I agree.
Regardless
anyone
of
dressed
Vadic,
in full black
Vadic
in Star Trek, you have to just run away. I think
Vadic has her demented view on the Federation, so maybe she's justifying things in ways that, like, if you gave her the evidence, maybe she would ignore the like many woefully ignorant people today in our society. Even if you gave her the evidence, that
she's blinded by madness, and
madness
it was very
anger,
compelling to watch in this episode. I'll say that. Like everyone. Okay, so you guys did your opening thoughts. I won't go into it, but I'll just say that the performances in this episode in particular, and yes, the performances are great all through the season, but goddamn, everyone killed it. This episode, it was fantastic.
and the music accompaniment was like thrilling me. That's what I wanted to say was like, I found this episode personally, I found it very thrilling. I recognize, yeah, it's like a middle episode. It's like a nothing really got resolved episode, but it was thrilling AF. Like I was thrilled. By the way, we have to come up with a reason why they didn't just turn the shields on in the hangar bay before the night's over. Like a valid reason that Trev will be like, okay, I accept that. Like, why didn't they just trap
Toddy,
them
you
in
missed
the hangar? Yeah,
you missed my criticisms of the plan, because the plan was awful. It's like, everyone just run from the bad guys and we'll turn on as many force fields as we can find. Like, why didn't you just lock them all down in one hallway? Like, it was very simple.
So
Like, there was no need for, other than we needed a chase scene in this episode.
Also,
Was I
audience,
the
feel free
only
to
one?
give us your headcanon on this too. I'm curious.
Was I
I want
the only one
to
puzzled?
go with a good reason. But anyways, go on. Sorry.
Was I the only one puzzled by the like the sheer amount of like manpower that Vatic had once they started coming onto the bridge? Because I felt like there was like 7 bad guys since the beginning of the show, and then like all 7 of her elite squad were on the ship. But all of a sudden, there's like 50 people running onto the bridge. I'm like, what? Where did all these people come from? Are they cloning each other as they go?
They either beamed aboard at the last minute, which I wish we saw, or they were changelings that were already there and just revealed themselves.
Or did they?
As opposed to like a couple of weeks ago.
Were they people she made into changelings? Is that a thing? Because it
Are
seemed
they
like it was a thing they were alluding to.
Oh, that's right. She's got those tubes, so she's like assimilating into changelings
Wait.
as they go. Is that it?
What part were
No.
they assimilating to changelings? She said she could
She
go back to the Great
transforms
Link
She
and
could give it
transform
Original
them.
changelings, yeah.
Yeah, she could give them the people in the Great Link. Hey, Marcella.
I'm not the latest.
No, you're not. I told you I was only giving you a hard time for the sake of giving you a hard time. No,
he doesn't even. He just says, "Oh, hey, Marcelo." That's fine.
Also, Marcelo should give me a hard time because I forgot to send him the link, so it was my fault actually.
Yeah, you did.
Starfleet Boy is imperfect. His rage at the Federation keeps him from successfully doing his job and from keeping
I've seen him cut off his own hand behind the scenes, people. Like I've seen him do that.
What was up with the guy, the hand, talk to the hand person? They were able to send like some sort of like crazy like wave of sound that was causing Vatic to like kind of, I don't know, like convulse a little and like be very uncomfortable. That was like kind of creepy too. I get why a lot of people are like, oh, come on, just give us all the mysteries, but we're only 3 episodes left. It's coming. I think that's it. Like it's always the formula seems to be like that 8th episode is going to be like really nuts, and then 9 and 10 they wrap it up. It's like a 2-parter almost usually.
We'll see Peanut Hamper next week. I'm sure.
It's all coming. Keep calm. It's all coming.
So Marcelo, welcome to the stream. Overall, what'd you think, just real quick? And then we're talking about Vatic and performances, and like we're trying to also figure out why the Titan crew didn't just like lock them all on the hangar deck or beam them straight into Briggs, which I guess you could have done as well.
Maybe they wanted to separate them.
No, I thought
Trev brings up a really good point. I haven't come up with a reason yet, so it's a tough one. But I will say this happens constantly in Star Trek. No one ever captures the villain in the best way possible. There's all like as far that is the only argument I have right now, is that it's a trope or a meme in Star Trek that you have to have an exciting, thrilling way to capture the villain.
This episode had many of them. Like the Chimtaka system is not close enough to the Sol system for them to get there in 36 hours, but most of our ships travel at the speed of plot, and that's fine.
We also have
So I'm
those warp
telling
conduits.
myself.
Maybe I don't know. It's true, yeah. But
Yeah,
Marcelo, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, that's okay. I thought this episode was good. I thought it was a little bit long-winded. I did like learning a little bit more about Vatic and her motivation as to why she's doing what she's doing. I liked how the big bad or the guy behind the scenes can sort of control Vatic and make her morph and put her in pain. I think that's an interesting thing to add to the changelings. But I'm ready for the show to move a little bit faster, because I'm like, guys, come on. let's roll here. We only got what 3 episodes left, so let's roll.
I'm so baffled. It's rolling. This is like such.
Yeah,
It's like rolling.
But what I want, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a little bit more action, a little bit more like forward momentum. I know it's rolling, but it's not rolling in the way that I thought it would have by now.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a difference between action sequences and fast pace and the plot actually moving. And this
Yeah,
episode was, here's a bunch of exposition and explanation, but
exactly.
it was another bottle show. It was another like this episode was like 30 minutes in real time. Like it, you know, and we're still worried about frickin' Frontier Day, which we were worried about and trying to figure out in episode 1. So
This was like
I
in
think
season
I'm
2.
picking up what Marcella's throwing down. Like it's
Yeah.
and again, like when I get like all hot and bothered about this, like I'm still loving all of this and loving like where this is going. But
right,
I agree
recognize
that from a what I wrote down was that it threw off the pace of the arc. Like the overall story felt like suddenly compressed because we had to stop and try to capture Vatic and have Vatic give us a cliffhanger and have Vatic explain her history. Like, so that felt a little like suddenly we were slowing down, even though it was a fast-paced episode.
It reminded me of season 2 when that happened. There were 2 shorter episodes, one especially so, and I think it may have been episode 7 that season as well. That really felt like, some of this could have gone in the last episode. Some of it could have probably waited for a week. I still loved it, but it didn't feel like it needed to be its own episode.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say.
No,
go ahead.
Trev first, then Marcelo. Go.
Okay, I was just going to say.
This is the only privilege I have.
Moderate stuff.
I know,
Anyway, moderate.
I know.
Moderate.
Turn the ship,
damn
damn it.
And then
No, I was just going to say. Toddy made the comment, and Marcelo commented on it too. I think about the just like acting wise, this episode was phenomenal. So as much as I kind of poo-pooed on some of the weird plot elements, everyone's performance was incredible, and just kind of beyond enjoyable to watch. And there was a comment made earlier by someone named Matthew, who's actually a friend of mine. Hi, Matt. About it being very theatrical and almost like a stage play. And I just wanted to comment on it and agree with that, because I've said before, those are some of my favorite episodes. So as much as I poo-pooed on it earlier, I do love when you could take this episode, put it on stage, and it would still be entertaining. And I just wanted to acknowledge my friend. So thank you.
Where's Matthew? I don't see their.
He commented like super early on.
Matthew Flowers. Okay,
yep,
cool.
there he is.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew. I see you now.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm I'm bad at the comments.
Yeah, he sucks. No.
Dang.
Yeah, no, he sucks. No, what I was gonna say is I really
Your
like
Toddy's
how...
revenge today.
Yes.
I
really. But by the way, I don't like the fact that you start at 6:30 either. So I got a problem with that.
No, that's the time Toddy wants us to start.
I know.
For
So
Toddy.
I should blame
okay.
him. But I just want to say I really like that scene that Geordi had with Data Plus. I'm calling him, where
I like that.
where Geordi, where Geordi.
Can we just call him Data Lore? Because no,
It would be Soon Plus, wouldn't it?
No, Data
Yeah,
Plus.
Soon-
Data Plus. I
Data
like
Plus, Zoom Plus, whatever.
Data Lore song.
Yeah. I really like that scene that Jordy got to have with Data Lore, Data the Song, whatever, because he really got a chance to really emote and show his emotional state when Data died in Nemesis that we kind of didn't get. We just had Data's death in Nemesis, and then we had that great moment where Picard toasted with the remainder of the TNG group, saying, to absent friends, just like Kirk did, which was amazing. So I really like the fact that Geordi got that emotional moment, and he tried to get Data's consciousness to come through amongst all the crap that he probably has in his head.
That was. I guess we could go right to that scene. We'll come back to Vatic because I still have a couple of observations
that.
as questions, but no, that's fine. But I will say, yeah, that scene was. I love what LeVar Burton's doing with Geordi. Like, it's been a long time. We've seen Jean-Luc, we've seen Riker back already, but we haven't really seen Geordi, and like kind of like we haven't seen LeVar Burton back in this role in a long time, and I think he's just like really amazing. He's doing new things, like being a father. Like, he's a more confident Geordi, but he's also more vulnerable. Like, I love when he talked about how he was a wreck after Data died, and like that the memory of Data, because that's true. Sometimes after a person dies, we continue to be inspired by who that person was, their character, their wisdom, their advice, and we can still grow and still benefit from that person's influence in our lives. I got chills. I don't know why. Maybe someone who passed in my life is sending me a message. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I think
go ahead.
I think we. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we try to, as a person who lost their mother almost 6 years ago, I
Sorry.
constantly try to live. Yeah, I don't know that it's all right. I constantly try to live up to the ideals that she saw in me, and I constantly try to live up to the man that she thought I was going to be when she passed away. So when Geordi said that the memory of Data kept him going, in a sense, I related to that quite a bit.
Very nice. Ken, welcome to the stream. You came here from your meeting at Starfleet Command.
I did, which is why I'm like, oh, yeah.
He was with the Federation president.
Yeah.
I have to give you a changeling test though, because it's kind of suspicious that you and Toddy were both late. I think that Toddy, I still think he's a changeling, so I'm gonna have to like ask you a few questions.
Sure, go ahead.
See.
Fire away.
So, who's your favorite Star Trek captain in all
Kirk.
of Star Trek?
Kirk.
Okay, you're Ken. Okay, you're Ken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wait, no, Ken could have told you that.
Real
Ken.
That's a horrible test for Ken. Like that.
The horrible test.
I got no.
You can ask me
no,
when the
got
last
one.
time I saw
I got
Admiral
one.
Janeway.
I got a question for Ken that he won't lie about. Well,
Go ahead.
I got one.
It's about JJ.
No,
Abrams,
I know,
right? Go ahead.
yeah, it is. No,
Go
I
ahead.
would no. I would just simply ask you, who's your business partner? Who do you work with?
I work with a guy named Greg Grunberg.
All right, that's him.
Yeah.
That's also
it.
public knowledge. I don't know.
It's also
Yeah,
public
it's
knowledge.
also
But I
The
am. I'm not
changelings
gonna-
would have looked at LinkedIn, everybody.
Come on.
That's right.
So true. Oh, we have another
He is-
potential changeling.
Another
here.
changeling.
Another
PJ.
potential changeling. PJ, what's up?
So here I am.
Who is
Do you want
PJ?
me?
I mean, oh, that's me. Shit.
That's me. Do you want me to give you my 2 cents? I'm sure you guys all talked
Yeah,
about
give us
everything
your
I'm gonna say.
quick 2 cents, and then just we're talking. We've been talking about Vatic, the reveal of Vatic, and we've been talking about obviously the scene with Data. So jump right into any of that.
Yeah, well, so I thought that this episode was interesting because, again, who's the captain of the Titan? I mean, is it Jean-Luc Picard? I mean, what's going on there? And second, how do you get from...
Cooperative.
It's a cooperative. How do you get from, I have a way to capture Vatic, to just jump to the Titan, like, all beat up? I mean, it was just a weird jump in time as opposed to step in time, which is a Dick Van Dyke thing. And so so that I thought was odd. But I agree. I came in when Trev was saying about the acting in this episode. I thought the acting in this episode across the board was fantastic. Across the board. I thought it was great to Jerry Ryan with the pre-title sequence where you saw her kind of sort of being Seven from Voyager again a little bit and talking to Tuvok. You could see that she was back to being sort of that mode. And then you saw her slip out of it when she was like, Tuvok would never, like, and you saw her come back to the Seven we see now. A lot of ethical questions, Starfleet Command created this problem with Vatic. And, I get it. I get now why Terra Metallis says you're going to feel bad for Vatic. Yeah, I do feel bad for Vatic. And also, I thought it was great to finally have a time where Jack and, where Jean-Luc and Beverly are spending a critical amount of time together. Important. And who the hell is Jack Crusher? Because it's not. I don't think he's going to be the son of Beverly and Jean-Luc, which is going to throw the Crusher convo folks into quite a tizzy.
Is
But
Braxton
anyway.
happy about that? Are you happy, Braxton, that it's not the sun?
I am.
Oh, I knew it. I could
I don't
feel
think
it.
that's
I am.
definitive.
I was watching.
No,
it.
it's not
I was like,
definitive, but it's certainly leaning.
Like
that
I
way.
was telling the group earlier when Vatic was telling Beverly like, oh, she said something that was like, oh, like he wasn't for you or something that was similar like that to mean like, oh, like he's not your baby. You know, I wanted to say like, oh,
Yeah.
like he's like mine.
It is the conspiracy aliens. Remember, the admiral was like, "This was for Dr. Crusher, but I guess you'll do, Will Riker." It's the conspiracy bugs.
It's the conspiracy bugs, or it could be what's her name from the original series, who says, "I am for you, Captain Kirk." What was her name? I forget. Anyway, but
Whoa!
Yeah.
Everybody, remember this moment. Ken forgot something from the
I
original
know
series.
Lasira, that's her name.
Note the
Damn
game
it.
time.
Yeah.
Damn it!
Sorry.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, it seems to be leaning. It seemed.
He just lost control
Who is that, by the
completely.
way?
PJ, one of
Not me.
does PJ get some opening
That's
thoughts?
Not me.
He does. Toddy, don't take over my show. You were
I'm
already
sorry.
late. Let me introduce PJ. Thanks.
Wait, we haven't established that this is PJ.
Oh yeah, we
need
haven't
questions.
established it. You have to clear the PJ test. PJ, what's your favorite Star Trek movie of all time?
Into darkness.
I've never told you my favorites. Well, First Contact, I would say. Maybe not so
All
much
right, you
anymore,
passed-
but First Contact, Wrath of Khan are usually the two.
The two.
I like
alright.
five.
I remember.
I like five now. I didn't like five before. I
You
love
like
now,
five?
so.
Oh, we have to do.
Wow,
a
I
rewatch.
like PJ even more
Dude.
now.
Dude.
What do you mean you like
dude,
5? What is this question? Like, you like 5? What's wrong with you?
Dude, I'm telling you, 5 is.
Th-
5 is
I
not
passed the
that-
test because
5
I've
is not
said
that
multiple
bad.
times that I've liked five more now than I have like growing up.
Yeah, I
So-
agree.
There you
I
go.
agree. You're not a change.
I am me.
PJ, what'd
Bad.
you think of this episode? Quick thoughts, and then also anything with
Well-
what we've been talking about that you want to kind of put your 2 cents into.
Well, this episode felt like a completely different show. It felt like season 1 or 2 and its sheer incompetence. It was going so well. And then this episode with the remote control, Jack fighting. I don't care about Jack anymore. He's got glowing Hulk eyes. Could be paw rates. Could be this, that, and the other thing. I don't care. I don't care about the floating head. I think that's Ducat. I think the paw rates and Ducat are the ones in charge here. And they're teaming, they made a deal with the changelings. I don't care about Vatic, her sob story. I just, like, Section 31 created them by torturing them and turning them into super changelings, and now she wants to wipe everybody out. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I do like seeing Brent Spiner back as Lore/Data, but it seems like he's shoehorned in there just to mess up the plan for this episode. It's like, it probably would have worked, but then like Lore had to mess with them. And like, was Lore part of this? Is he some kind of secret agent? No, he's just the enemy of my enemy is my friend crap. And I really like LeVar Burton's acting, but when he's crying to Data, it's like, when you died, I was broken. I feel nothing. I'm just watching this whole episode. I don't feel anything, and I'm more frustrated than anything else. I'm kind of disappointed that they left last episode this cliffhanger with Riker and Troy. Troy.
He is a
that was
changeling.
weird.
He's a
That was
changeling.
bizarre.
I am a changeling. I forgot. We didn't get to see that. I don't, so that was a bit frustrating. My favorite scene was the first scene in the episode with Tuvok seeing Tim Russ back, and I was like, yeah, he's once they couldn't figure out if his voice was real or not. I'm like, yeah, he's. But then I was worried, like, is Tuvok dead? Are we gonna get an answer to that? Will he come back later?
He got his eye ripped
Yeah.
out, PJ.
And another thing, they have Vatic trapped, and then Vatic gets out, and both Beverly and Picard are shooting, boom, 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 boom. And it's like, what's the deal with how easily or hard it is to kill these changelings? Because it seems like they shoot at some of them and it doesn't work, and then another scene they'll shoot a guy and he's vaporized.
I have an answer to one of those things.
I just didn't. I thought it's a good season. I just didn't like this episode. That's all. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead,
right.
Stan.
No, so you're definitely right. It's way inconsistent with who gets vaporized and who doesn't. On the Vatic one, my second and third time watching, I slowed it down to see she was moving differently and dodged. Like how realistic that is, I can't say, but I did clock it at least.
Well, that's interesting. So as when she was,
I love that you.
original
Yeah, I love
state,
that
she
you
was
watched
dodging
it.
around the.
She
I
could.
had the same thought. I'm like, how the hell are they missing that blob of whatever, like right there? And then yeah.
To piggyback off what
yeah, it's like, and they're
PJ
still
was-
shooting as she's going up the thing.
To piggyback off what PJ was saying about like data and lore, if I were to find a criticism, because I enjoyed this episode, it didn't feel that disconnected or that different to the rest of the season for me. I think it was fine. Some of you guys said maybe it was a bit filler, but it was short. It was like a short episode, so it worked for me. It almost felt kind of like a bottle episode because everything was taking place on the ship. The one thing that I didn't enjoy too much is the return of Data. I understand the need and the want to have Brent Spiner be back because everyone is back, but I would have been fine with having lore, just like plain old lore, instead of having like lore and before and Data and something, etc. Because I have already said my goodbyes twice now to Data. Now I was fine with his departure in Nemesis. The project wasn't well received, so they wanted to kind of like redo it, and they did it with a lot of emotion and a lot of weight in Picard season 1. I don't need him to be back again just so we can say goodbye again, or to actually bring him back for real. I would have preferred it. It's like, it's lore. That's it. That's all it is. And then they can still do the same kind of story, but it's just lore. It's like I don't need Data to come back every time Star Trek decides they need Data back. Because at this point, they're just going to bring him back in like Discovery, right? Or the new Starfleet Academy
he's
show.
going to come back.
Oh, we'll just have Data. He's the professor sitting in the corner.
It's been before. Do you
I
think? Do you think
The
though,
Lucasian chair.
Yeah. Do you think
That's
that
what he had.
when
He
they
was
said that they were going to do bringing all the next generation cast back, that they felt like they had to add Brent Spiner back? I mean, was it a business decision? I agree with you. I
If it
think
was
that
just
bringing
Laura, I
Data
would have been
back
cool
this
with
third
that.
time
I
was just bad.
I have a funny feeling that I don't know. I have a funny feeling that from a creative standpoint, like Terry Metalis wanted to really send off like the TNG crew and the TNG cast, like those characters. And I feel like that he as an individual, like he has such a close relationship to all of these characters that he wanted Data to be part of those characters when he did the send-off, which I think would make sense for a lot of creatives and a lot of fans put in his position. Like I think we would all kind of like feel the same way. It's just kind of I guess it's kind of a bummer that it's already been done before he came along to do it this time. We'll have to see, like by the end of the season, by the end of episode 10, we'll see where he took the story with Data, where they went with it, what they decided to do with it, and if it's grown on me. But at this point in time, at the end of this episode, I feel like I didn't need Data. I feel like lore would have been enough.
And there would have been other ways to
And
make lore not evil.
What about
I
this?
mean, there would be other ways to explain
You
away
see,
why he
You're
wasn't.
correct about that, because when I was
Yeah.
watching the scene, Geordi is speaking to Data through lore. You know
Right.
what makes that more interesting? They should have had no Data, it's just lore, and Geordi is speaking to lore and trying to appeal to the good in lore. And see if lore all of a sudden
yeah.
would be like, oh my god, for the first time someone's actually talking to me like I'm someone that counts. Maybe he could have had a change of heart and be like, you know what, I matter. I matter to Geordi. He's not just looking for some data in me. He's actually talking to me as an individual. So I'm going to have a change of heart and help him out. That could have been interesting.
It also could have been more powerful by sharing with Lore that Data had died, and Lore didn't know, because why would
Yeah, exactly. It's a loss for both of them. One of them's lost his brother.
Yeah.
Well, they've both lost their brothers technically,
Right.
because like Geordi and Data, right? And so they
Right.
could have shared in that loss together. That could have been like, yeah, a lot more powerful. That would have been a different route, but you know.
It is
I
interesting,
agree.
but it is an interesting idea, and I actually had that thought like a long time ago. The first time I saw that Brent Spiner was coming back, and I think, you know, in the poster, like, you know, he definitely looks like Lore in the poster, you know, and whatnot. I had also imagined a scenario where perhaps Lore could learn to be good because of the mourning of the loss of his brother. So that is an interesting thing, and you really can't have that because, you know, we've already lost Data twice, as everyone's saying. That being said, I do think personally it's working for me. I'm still waiting like to see what they end up doing with it. And what's working for me is like how like Jean-Luc has repeatedly acknowledged that, oh, he's already lost Data twice. It's very hard for him. I'm like taking it from the perspective, I think, of, to me, it's like the data that's there is an anomaly because that's the data from Nemesis. Like he even says, Captain, I was just aboard the
Scimitar.
I was just aboard the Scimitar. This
But
data
he's not
has
the
not
data that
had-
was trapped for 20 years in a flash
Yeah.
drive.
Right,
No,
exactly. Thank you, VJ. Actually, that's
creatively
like, it's so sad.
speaking, it is almost like a sidestep of what's existed. It's almost like not, I wouldn't say not acknowledging, but it's almost like,
Yes, that's exactly
we're
what
gonna
it is. I
pick
like
up
that.
from here. You know what I mean?
That
like
being
that.
said, I just
That's
can't
absolutely
imagine-
not what it is. If that's what it
Oh,
was, they would not
boo.
have had boo y'all selves. They
No,
would not.
Yeah,
They would not
yeah.
have said. They would not have said multiple times. This is not our data. This is not the
Right.
data we remember.
Yeah,
Like,
Right,
those
exactly.
words
That's what I was
do-
gonna get.
Those
to.
words exist.
that's fair.
Oh,
Right.
Actual data is dead.
What else
Data
about this
2
episode?
is here.
So what
This-
happens
This is
you
like
have
an old backup copy of data that you found in your closet, and it's not the one, and it's
Oh my
missing
God.
like 20 years of information. But that's the thing about Data
Yeah.
is that that's possible with him. That's a reality. Data's. I don't understand the whole thing. I've never really understood the whole thing about.
This is
people
more
getting upset
believable
about
than having data be cloned using one
Fractal
neuron.
neuron,
It's more
yeah,
believable
exactly.
than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just what
Although
else?
the
What else
same-
about this episode reminds you guys of Nemesis? There's a very particular thing. It's like they're doing Nemesis again. This potential Picard clone, this doppelganger that they think
Yeah.
Yes.
that our heroes now think is going to be made.
But that whole thing doesn't make
It's
any
like,
sense.
why
It's
did
been
he?
I also
done.
think-
It's
I think
Why
that's a
why did he need
misdirect.
Jack's DNA? It's still a mystery, and
Yeah.
I need some goddamn answers about the Jack stuff. It's the only mystery box in this whole season that's actually annoying me. And I
They
don't
haven't
like it
flown the
anymore.
shuttle through the corridors yet.
We
Yeah, that's
did
true.
get
They have-
some
they-
dark
Oh, yeah.
hallway reveals this episode. Very Nemesis.
Yeah.
And this time it was Beverly. That was cool.
I like.
so my question is, does
the little
the,
beeping sound that Vadic's sensor thing had was the same as in Star Trek 3 that they were looking for Spock's life signs. It was the same
That's
thing.
I tweeted that today. I'm like, it's
Oh,
amazing how
I
one
think I
little
saw
sound
that.
effect can bring me back. You know that yes, from Star Trek 3. But let me ask you, does Picard in his positronic form have DNA? Because this whole thing is anchored on, if I'm going to speak at, whatever it's called, what is it called? Freedom Days?
Frontier.
Frontier Day.
Day. Thank you.
Frontier
I'm going
Day.
to talk. He said, if I'm going to talk at Frontier Day, they're going to have to do a genetic test of me first. Well, you're a golem. Would that work anyway?
Yeah.
Right? So that's a
Yeah,
flaw.
that's yeah.
I don't think Picard. I have to in this situation. I think you just have to take what the character said.
That is a big
as,
problem.
like,
He's
But
never
you have to.
though.
Can I just finish what I was going to say?
But what?
The fact
Oh,
that
sorry,
Picard is
sorry.
saying the fact that Picard is saying I have to get this genetic test means that there's a component in his golem that can pass a genetic test, which means there must be an incorporation of his genes in this golem. Like, I just don't see how you could question that. Like, if
I
Jean-Luc
assumed-
himself is saying it, then
I-
he knows more about his golem probably than anyone else. So
And
you know,
that makes way more sense than they just decided to suddenly like reshape the golem to look like Jean-Luc Picard. Like, it would just make sense that you would inject some form of DNA and it would take the
Yeah.
shape of his body.
I think the
why else
the
do they look
golem was like
identical?
Oh
I think
my
the
God.
golem, calling it a golem
I'm
is,
going with
is
that.
like, I think
That's
calling
good.
it a golem is interesting. It was like a a clone ready to take on any form. Basically, it's like it's like cloning comes from like direct, cloning of someone's genes. This is like a substrate or a material that's waiting for genetic material to be introduced for it to form into whatever that genetic material influences. So that's what Jean-Luc the synth is. It has
Okay,
DNA.
Jean-Luc
Yeah.
the doppelganger, if there was a doppelganger, goes there and they're like, wait, you're a fully human biological Picard. Wouldn't that be a red flag? That's what I'm just wondering the logistics of.
My understanding, much like Gray,
Would it make more sense
Gray's
to
the
have
only
another
other.
Gollum that just looked like Picard with Picard's DNA
I mean,
in it? Like
Marcelo's not
I
afraid to
don't know.
tweet at Terry Mazzel, so you could probably ask him yourself.
I'm not. I'll do
Marcelo.
it. I'll do it. I don't care. I'll
But
do
my
it.
understanding is that like, my thing is I don't think the changelings want his body to go and do this Frontier Day thing that Picard. I think Picard's thinking,
So
oh
what do
yeah,
they
they're
want?
gonna like they're. I don't know. I haven't seen
Where do
episode
they
8 or
want?
9 or 10.
That's the,
but
that's the thing. Where do they want?
But that's the thing we're gonna find out. I'm pretty sure. I think episode 8 is gonna like be the episode where we find out a lot of stuff, so that they can conclude in episode 9 and 10. So I'm banking on like all these answers. So far, they've done such a great job of like most of these questions that we have. Like usually, I think we become spoiled because usually they're answered in the same episode. But I think we're gonna, like so maybe it feels a little off that episode 7 doesn't really answer any questions, but we got a ton of information.
Well,
It's just that we don't know
yeah.
what to do with it yet. Sorry, PJ, go ahead.
I was gonna just say like there is like I wanted to know what Vadic's deal was. I was very curious, and now that I know, I just don't. I'm like okay. And this whole thing now where Frontier Day must be like 24 to 12 hours away at this point. It's like it's right around the corner because the
Right
last
around the
episode
corner.
it was like 72 hours, then it was 48 hours. So yeah, they need to ramp up. I need to get the answers with Jack, and I'm willing to let this one slide. Like it's an episode I don't like, but I don't feel bad about the season at all. It's still a damn good season of Star Trek Picard. So yeah, it's just the exposition heavy nature of it, and the action and the ship takeover and Vadic taking over and her whole deal, and even the stuff with Geordi. I loved Geordi in the last episode, the conflict between him and his daughter, but the conflict between him and Lore, and this whole thing about man, if they didn't have Lore hooked up, this wouldn't have like. It's just kind of that part is just kind of stupid.
I enjoyed
I'm
Lore's.
sure the wheels aren't going to fall off now. I mean, it's
No, the wheels are not going to fall off. If the wheels fall off now, I will be terribly
what's that?
disappointed. But I'm
Am
like,
I must be delayed
like-
or something.
A little bit. You froze
Yeah,
a little bit.
was
But
delayed.
I think you keep coming back. I loved Laura's scene with Alondra with Mika Burton. Is that slang, modern slang, or did they make it up? Is that like Star Trek slang? Like, why is he so arch? Have you ever heard of that? Have you guys heard that before? Sounds like a California thing. I don't know. Anyone in the audience like? But I loved it. I'm gonna start using it. In fact,
Fetch.
like arch. I think like an arch nemesis.
Like arch enemy. Yeah.
Or
Why is
arch
he
enemy,
so
I'm
yeah.
arch?
trying to make Arch happen.
Bent.
Although Lore had some funny lore lines, like he said, "Oh look, did the tree move?" Or it's
Yeah.
like that. And then he's
It was.
like,
Yeah.
"I'll tell you why I'm so arch. It's because these people vomit out all this stuff. Like if it's a good thing." I was just
Isn't
like, "Man,
bent
Lore-
out of shape like being pissed? Like to be bent out of shape, being angry or frustrated? Is that
oh,
it?
arch is a thing.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So arch, is that comparable to bent?
Oh, maybe I don't know.
I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know.
find links here.
Joel says
Yeah,
it's a
maybe.
thing. I believe
Maybe.
I
Joel.
thought it was short for Archie.
Archie,
Yeah.
you're my Archie.
Out of
nemesis.
the, out of the chair. Anyway.
Um,
Yeah,
there's so much to discuss. We're just at our hour mark, so we're about out of time here. But I just want to say also that I thought the performance that Gates McFadden and Sir Patrick Stewart gave was really good. Like I was very into it. And Jill said that they decided not to kill. I didn't catch that. I thought they had decided to kill, so I obviously have to go back and watch the episode
No.
again.
No, I think they
They
decided to kill.
were getting ready
Yeah.
to, but
Right?
they
Like
were
they
getting
were,
ready
yeah.
but they didn't fight. They did not go to pull down the force field or anything. They were getting very ready to do it, though. It wasn't until the force fields came down because of lore that they started firing.
That scene was actually one of my few kind of really, really deep nitpicks with respect to like how much more powerful the scene could have been if there was less dialogue. If it had been more about them looking at each other and making the agreement that this was necessary, and they did it without so many words. It just felt like the conversation took like wait. I was like, we get it. You're gonna kill her. Do it. Like it just felt like it was way too involved for these two people. Who do
I have the
I'm just
opposite
picturing
reaction.
Travis. Kill her.
I have the opposite reaction because like it was very powerful that Beverly didn't speak in the first couple of episodes. Didn't speak a lot when she met Jean-Luc. But now I'm all for like, let's hear your thoughts, Beverly. Let's hear what you want to say or what you're going through. And I love that she revealed that she's losing her moral compass. So I loved all of that.
Yeah, no,
stuff
I
for
didn't.
that
I didn't
reason,
want it
yeah.
to be. I didn't want it to be silent. Like I don't want to go back.
No,
to,
no,
like,
I get that. Like, but I
let's
get
stare
what
at
you're
each other
saying.
across
Like,
the bridge for 3 hours. Like
I
I
get
just wanted there to be
yeah.
a little less. Like I did like her saying, "I feel like I'm losing my moral compass." It would have been really interesting if the conversation ended there with her saying that. Some fun interactions between them and some fun camera takes, and then both of them dialing their phasers up in terms of like power settings, and then that's just them making the agreement. Like rather than vocalizing everything they were about to do, it just felt like they were putting it out there a little.
Well, they have that kind of relationship, don't they?
Right.
So
Yeah,
they could both agree on this, like without
Yes.
necessarily speaking, and be on the same
Yes.
page. Yeah.
1000%.
yeah, that makes sense.
But that's like a minor nitpick. That's not like, it didn't ruin anything.
And
It
Jill's
was a great
right.
scene.
Bev and Picard didn't vaporize Vatic, so OBS their settings were dialed back to not kill. So yeah, they
I'm going to
silently
disagree
decided
with
not
the
to kill.
OBS. I don't think it's obvious. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have it. Is it?
Let's
Wasn't
OBS.
it?
That's like you didn't disagree with my OBS. If Jean-Luc thinks he has DNA, he has DNA. So it's all right.
Because it was in dialogue.
Yeah, it's true. So like, okay, in Star Trek, because you guys have seen all of Voyager, are there any examples of someone that's able to influence or take over another person just with like mind reading and eye contact? Because I can't think of one right now. Like what Jack did at the end. That was cool, by the way. I love that. By the way, it was also brutal. I was really worried for Sydney. Like the stakes did feel pretty real to me. Like I thought like, oh shit, they're going to kill Sydney or really mess her up. Like this is like during the first watching, I was really worried.
One of the changelings had ample opportunity.
Well, he was like torturing Jack. He's putting her face into the shield, which I think is a Star Trek first. I don't think we've ever seen that happen before, and that must be very painful. And like, so I think he was taunting Jack. I wonder if they know that Jack has some kind of ability and they're trying to exploit it by getting him stressed out or angered. I don't know. He's very weird. But yeah, any other Star Trek
The one black guy,
the
one black cat did call Jack a solid though, which I thought was interesting. So the thought that Jack may be a changeling, he said, "You solids," so that was interesting. Mind control. So the most blatant form of mind control that I've seen, which is not like this, is in season 4 of Enterprise when the Organians came on the ship and were able to just take over bodies, and people aren't aware that they're being taken over. But that's
Okay.
There's that, but there's also that episode where I think it's TNG. They go on that planet and they get possessed by
Oh, that's right.
the cloud.
oh yeah, that's true.
But those are
Yep.
It's different
disembodied-
situations. Yeah, it's different
Yeah.
scenarios.
Did you all get the sense that he was controlling her? I thought he was just giving her choreography, but
Yeah.
she was still.
But
doing
he was
it.
making the moves.
That's what I understood. I didn't even notice that. I thought he was telling her what to do and she was doing it. And then by the time the scene ended, I was like, "Oh, okay, I must have misunderstood." Because then they
No,
make
he
it
was-
clear
He got
in
in
the
her
scene
head.
He was
that he
controlling
was
her.
doing it. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
he was controlling her with his gamma radiation from his
Choreographers sometimes do the dance as well while you're still in rehearsal.
No, but she
That's all
seemed
I'd
to
say.
imply. She seemed to say like, "How did you do that?" Or you made me
You
do
were in
that.
my head.
Yeah.
You were
He
in my
actually
head.
says you were in my head after the scene was done. And
Which
I don't
also
think
seems,
Power Wraiths do that?
And he can read her thoughts too. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it's also annoyingly unnecessary. She's a trained Starfleet officer, and she doesn't know how to fight.
What's
Like,
the opposite of a pod wraith again? It's the celestial temp. It's the
prophets.
The
the
prophets.
prophets, right?
You're thinking
When
of
the
the
prophets
crystal thing.
possess you, do your eye color, does it like turn the same way where it's like a color? Is it different? Is it like gold or something else?
They
Like,
don't
I don't
possess
think
you,
you
do
ever
they?
saw where they possess.
Kira's,
You don't
Kira's
get
eyes
possessed.
turned blue in that episode.
Oh, really?
They're
I don't
gorgeous.
remember that.
And Jake's turned red.
Jake's
the
turned
power-
red.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
so
With a
the
power
Kira
wraith.
was possessed
Power
by
wraith.
the prophets. Yeah, that's right.
But
So-
Keiko was possessed by a Paul Wraith, and her eyes never changed.
Oh, okay, interesting. So
She's too strong.
next episode, I think we're gonna find out next. I'm dying to find out too. Like the Jack mystery, while I'm not
Maybe
frustrated,
Jack is possessed
I
by the
am
soul of
definitely
Ben
like
Sisko.
anxious. You know, that
Wouldn't
would
it be funny if they take next episode, and next episode is all about Riker and Troy on this on the strike, and they don't go to the Titan at all, and then they then they go back in episode 9 to.
It's funny you
No.
say that, but I think we're gonna find out that during what I predict. I guess we could speculate a little. Is during this whole kerfuffle on the Titan, they like sent over most of their troops here. So now Deanna, I would love it if in the next episode Deanna and Riker are in control of the Shrike, and like, you know, it kind of turns the tables on the situation a little bit because they have this like crazy ship now that's
It
under
was-
their.
It was a very strange choice to not do any continuation with Riker or Troy after that finale last week.
Yeah, because if they weren't going to do that, why did they do that? Why did they do that amazing cliffhanger? If they were like, "Oh, we're going to do this week, but next week we're not going to deal with this." Why would you do that?
I mean,
As a
they
writer,
threw
you
it
wouldn't
away.
do that.
It's a common thing in shows, though. Shows like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, they have done that before. They'll leave you on a cliffhanger for something, and then they'll sidestep it completely, do something else, and then they'll come back to that after. Because whatever's going to happen with Riker and Troy will tie into like the bigger conclusion, or it has to.
Right.
It ties into something that will, end the show, right, or be part of the
We've-
big events.
Terry's also and I'm glad that he said something because I am a hardcore Troy fan, and he said, those that are showing up to this season for Troy, rest assured, she plays a big part in resolving the story. I forget, that's me. Those are my words, not Terry's. But he basically was saying, don't freak out. She's coming back, and everything's going to be great, and you'll get
Don't
plenty of
freak
Troy. So, it may be a smart move to put it off and put that story off until next week. But
We'll see.
on the other side, to Marcelo's point, this was the first
mean,
46-minute
Meets
episode.
Jack.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes,
it was short. It was really short this
It was
episode.
short.
Yeah.
Man. It was short.
Which means we'll probably get a longer finale. I think I think I read somewhere that the episode 10 might be an hour and 30 minutes or close to it, like 90
Oh my
minutes.
goodness!
Yeah,
Wow.
not bad.
So it just makes sense. They kind of like shifted around the time, like times or whatever. The 10 episodes will, but I do appreciate when a story is told in the time that it's meant to. Like if episode 7 was only meant to be 20 minutes, I'd be okay with that. Or, I kind of wouldn't, but
No, you wouldn't. What are you talking about?
You
would not.
You would not.
But I would
One
res-
episode
but I would
to be
res-
3 hours
It's
long.
all-
Wait a minute.
now I think you're a changeling.
No,
but I would
no. Wait a minute. Wait,
oh shit!
wait a minute,
You guys
wait a
have
minute,
found out.
wait-
By the way, you guys found
So,
out who
wait-
the real changeling is.
wait a minute.
I'm
Wait a
just
minute.
kidding.
Are you
Sorry.
telling me? Are you telling me that you would be okay with an episode of Picard being the same length as a Lower Decks episode? Bullshit.
No,
You're-
I would respect it because the writers and the filmmakers told the story that they wanted to for that episode, like not
Alright.
feeling pushed to make it a TV, fit the broadcast TV format that we're all used to. So yeah,
Okay.
I would respect it. I would want more. There are episodes of The Mandalorian that are like that, and I always want more. But I also
I
always
hate that.
respected that they do that.
So unrelated, but I have 2 questions. If you're talking about speculation, are we
Yes.
going to see Admiral Janeway?
Well,
and
she was
will
mentioned
we-
in this episode.
No.
Will we see a de-aged Picard, like corpse?
Well, how
That's
much
interesting.
de-aging would you need
No.
to do to it? It's only 3 years ago.
No, because the corpse that. Oh, really? Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
the
died
corpse
on-
at the end of season 1.
Ah, yes, okay.
When did
Well,
you think he died?
I
Tom?
was going to like they got like a TNG corpse somewhere. Like I don't know
Like-
why. My mind is
Jason
like
Station
they got
apparently
a
has
young
corpses
Picard.
everywhere, so we're good.
They're picking up corpses from timelines. Just keep them.
A couple
Ah.
more things on my notes. I just wanted to talk about Captain Shaw. I really felt for him when when the changelings show it. I thought he died for. I was like, oh crap, they just killed Shaw. So I felt for him. I also enjoyed. I really enjoyed Vatic in this episode. I thought it was lovely. I thought it was funny and bizarre, but also a great performance when she gets on the bridge and she says to Seven, like, I would like to address the crew, please, or something like, like it's like
Yeah.
that. She's like all calm.
Open a channel.
And
Might-
and
would you
there's like
find-
she has these like I've been kind of worried about her and like feeling a little bit of empathy for her for a bit now, but this episode definitely makes me hope that there's some kind of redemption for her. Like I hope she
Oh
doesn't
no,
just
she need to die.
what
You
what
need to die. No
What?
redemption for you. She's a
Man.
changeling. She's a changeling, man. Die.
this could be this is the whole
She,
thing about
she wants
Star
to
Trek.
kill us all.
Where's
What are you talking
Violence,
about?
man. Kill them all.
No,
Yeah, it's
Marcel,
not
but
that
that's
she's a
the whole thing
changeling,
about
she's a
Star
bad
Trek is that
person.
But
like
he was.
That's
But
right.
hold up. You do realize that she wants to kill everyone. You
But
do
she might
realize that,
not-
yes?
she might not want to
Oh my
if
god.
she's like yeah, you're always so absolute, like throwing people into jail and stuff. It's so weird. I'm all about rehabilitation, and
No,
I think
no.
it's so weird. But
Just
anyways,
send her to New Zealand. She'll be fine.
she'll be fine. It's
yeah,
true.
that's right.
Send her to New Zealand. But
Maybe kill
but
the
what
hand.
what I was gonna
Yeah,
say
kill the
is
hand. Cut the hand off, for God's sake.
she, but like there's a lot of like things that oh gosh, what's the actor's name? I can't remember at the moment. I am a
Plumber?
changeling. Thank you, Amanda Plummer. There's a lot of things that Amanda Plummer is
Amanda
doing
Plummer.
that yeah, Amanda Plummer.
PJ is delayed. Give him a break.
PJ, that's okay, PJ. That was funny. I thought he was
So
making
good,
a pun. But anyways, like I love that she was like when she said I am Vatic, she like hesitated and touched her hand for a second,
Yep.
the hand or whatever, and just a lot of nuances, like the fact that she's now taken over the Titan. It's interesting. I like it a lot. Anyways, we are over time. Gentlemen, this was an go ahead.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
going to say,
Ken.
Amanda Plummer is getting up there with probably one of the top Trek villains of all time, right up there with Ricardo Montalban, I think. I think she's definitely going to be quite the thing. But I do have to say that I've always warned, at least in my own head, that if these people do not stick this landing, and I'm getting worried after this episode that these people may not stick this
They're gonna
landing,
stick it.
there's going to be a lot of problems. So we'll see what happens.
Have
Geek
faith.
Filter, our friend Aaron Harvey has a cool, interesting
Have
theory
faith
because
with
we
the
don't
heart.
actually see the lady, her torturer, die. She stabs her here in the shoulder, so that's an interesting idea. If the comment was, I still think she might be a changeling merged with a human, and it's almost like the human part of her is being held hostage inside of her own body. That's so demented. I
How
like it.
Horrible.
And
Oh,
and
It's
wasn't
good.
it I think it was in the ready room that they were talking about one of the reasons why Section 31 was studying changelings was to basically be able to reproduce or replicate their morphing abilities. So
Right.
if these are in fact a different species, might that actually be the original body
Suliban would
Just-
love that shit.
morphogenized?
Suliban.
Suliban.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
This was-
we
this was
need-
not
we
the
need-
discussion I was expecting. I think I'm the only one that was like so thrilled with this episode that I like don't have anything but a 10 to give it, which is
Of
lower
course you
actually
do.
than
You
my
give a
previous
10 every
ratings.
week.
No, I've been giving 13s, but I'm gonna give this episode a 10 just because like you guys have convinced me through this conversation that yeah, maybe there were some opportunities, but I think episode 8 is going to fill in those opportunities. I have a good feeling about it. I haven't seen it, but I have a good feeling about it. I hope to see it soon. Let's see if Section 31 sends me a little communique. One never knows. But but I would just say that it gets a solid 10 for me. Like this season so far, I think the ups and downs are part of the experience. So yeah, you can't just be on the high every week. And it's good, like when when your expectations are lower and then something amazing happens and you're like, oh crap, I didn't see that coming at all, because we're all meant to like go in this other direction with all these ideas. I have a feeling like Terry Matalas seems to be a master at like making you think something's happening. And a similar thing happens in 12 Monkeys. I know I keep going back to 12 Monkeys, but there is a similar thing that happens in 12 Monkeys, like thematically and structurally. So I kind of have a lot. That's why I think I'm holding out. I'm excited.
12 Monkeys. Oh, no, sorry. Spoilers.
That would make me sad, because I would love it, but also would make me sad because Annie Wersching did such a hell of a great job as the Borg Queen, and she's no longer with us. But yeah, so I give this episode a 10 just because I think for me, regardless of the flaws, and I still haven't figured out why a good solution to Trev's question, but regardless of the flaws or whatever, the performances were just so outstanding. I really hope that someone gets an Emmy nomination. LeVar Burton, and oh, look at the little kitty! I got distracted. I really hope LeVar Burton gets an Emmy. I hope they all get Emmy nominations, because they're really crushing it as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, what about you, PJ? Feel free to give a rating and just some final thoughts.
I give it 4 stars out of 20.
Jesus.
Ooh,
That's like a 1.
that's true.
Or
It's exactly a
like
one.
a 2. It's like a 2 in the normal rating scale of 10. Wow. Oh, an audience, feel free to give me your ratings. I want to do an average. I'm curious like where this falls for y'all. So please give us your ratings as well. Ken, what about you?
So I think this episode, from the point of view of the music and the directing and the writing and a lot of those things, and was very cinematic. The performances were excellent. The plot was a bit of a challenge. They did some major shortcuts here, I think. So I will give it 6 questionable force field integrities out of 10.
Nice. Toddy, or wait, what is it? Late on the 2. Late on the 2. I love it. Thank you. Late on the 2. What do you give it?
I am bewildered. I'm not gonna give the lowest rating. I think I'll go with a 7. I mean, I seem to have less complaints than some of you out here. Like, the only thing that really bugged me is like I don't know where to go with like this data thing. Otherwise, I was fine with like seeing about like Vadic's kind of like backstory. It works for me. It's a personal kind of like vendetta that she has, so I can feel for that, I guess. I'm not outright against Jack. I'm fine with him not being the son at all. I'm intrigued to see where they're going with it. Stupid plots to capture enemies is like a common trope, be it in Star Trek or just television in general. So sometimes I guess I can let it fly. And just the fact that this episode was, I guess, bold enough to be shorter, and just let the characters or the actors do the work, I think was great. So it's fine for me. It's a good episode for me, but it's not like coming out of last week's. Yeah. Fine.
We usually do a season discussion like after the seasons are over. I didn't do one for Star Trek Picard season 2, so I'm like way late on that. I won't do one. But for
he's afraid of the other people's opinions.
Well, no, I would love it if after the whole season's over, like this group plus Jesse and Michelle gathered together, and I'm sure we'll do it in spaces as well, but like it's going to be really interesting to see how we all feel about the things that we're talking about and what really how it all settles at the end. It's going to be very interesting, and I'd love for you guys to come back and do that. Father was not here when you posed the big what do we call it, a plot hole or just a plot convenience, so do you mind repeating it, Trev?
Yeah, no. Are we talking about how bad the plan
shuttle
was?
bay.
Situation?
The shuttle bay,
So it just seemed like it was unnecessary to like bring everyone into hallways and then run from them so that they chase you, so that then you can put up force fields and trap them when you could just either lock them down in the shuttle bay or lock them in the first hallway that they were in. With
You know
force
what
field.
was missing, and Terry Metalis is really
Very
good
good
at
point.
this, and so is his crew, was like pulling up a map of the Titan on the conference table and talking about the plan, like more or less. And then in there, you could have put in a little bit of dialogue about, well, why don't we just trap them in the shuttle bay? And then someone could have given a really good techno babble reason why not.
It also
But-
would have taken us to 49 or 50 minutes, which is
Trev, we'll get back to you, but Mars, thanks for explaining your question. So, Father,
Sure.
if you have a good answer, let us know. You usually come up with some good headcanon stuff, or just ideas to circumvent plot holes. Marcelo, what about you? Ratings and final thoughts.
Yeah, no. This episode has some things in it that I really liked. I liked finally learning Vadic's motivation. I love the stuff between Geordi and Data and Lore and what else is in his brain. The Jack shit. I'm caring less and less about. I just want to figure out what the hell is going to happen once they get to Frontier Day, because I think that's where it's all going to blow up. And I also just want to mention that I would love like a final briefing scene where you have like everybody sitting around in a table talking about what the hell they're gonna do. I would love that, because that's like a classic TNG briefing scene. I would love that. And also I want to give a big shout out to the composers of Picard, because there was an article that came out today on Trek Movie talking about how amazing the music is, and what Terry wanted to do to bring back the Star Trek movies from TNG, to bring back the music from the films and incorporate that into the final season of Picard. So if anybody hasn't seen that, I recommend you check that out. And sorry, my rating, I will give this episode a 5 out of 10.
Did you guys order? Thanks, Marcella. Did you guys order the vinyl for Picard
Yes.
season 3?
I don't have a
can't wait.
record player to play it on, but I ordered it anyways.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. I don't have a vinyl player, and I have a Spotify subscription. So when it drops on Spotify, I'll listen to it on Spotify. But I don't have a vinyl player, unfortunately.
I agree with you, Marcelo. The music is just
Yep.
unbelievably good.
Yeah.
By the way, at the end of this episode, you know how they usually play the Titan theme at the end. So they'll play the the TNG movie theme
First contact theme.
right? First contact theme.
That's when the concert comes.
But then afterwards, on the blue credits that look like TNG end credits, like they play usually the Titan theme. They play that climax, that super awesome, music that they play up to the climax in this episode, and it sounds so good. So I'm appreciating that they did that. By the way, I can hear your cat purring, and it's awesome. It's giving me like some good ASMR vibes. So thank you. Geek Filter came and Father suggests that they may not have landed in the shuttle bay, that they could have landed somewhere else, like
Doesn't matter.
on the.
All
Right,
you need is one force field on one end of the hallway and one on the other. Just lock
That's
them in the
true.
middle.
However,
Why are we chasing them through the ship? Makes no sense.
However, it would have failed anyways, because there's somehow the changelings were all over, so maybe they like attached beamed. I don't know. It's a good. I'm gonna have to watch it again, and I'll have
It was a
an
bad
answer for
plan.
you.
It was a bad plan.
It was a bad plan. Yes.
I'll
Brad-
I'll bother Terry about it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. He might.
Why not?
he
I'll
might-
do it. I don't
Just
care.
don't
Yeah,
tag
do
me.
whatever-
Just
do
don't
whatever,
tag
yeah.
me in it.
Yeah, please don't tag me either, Marcelo. Thank you.
But
You
hold
can
up. You do, but you do realize every time I bother Terry about a question, I don't
He
tag
answers you?
any of you folks in there.
Oh, but does he answer you? He answers
no,
Fathery and I only rarely on occasions where he's listening to the show.
A couple times when I've had good questions, he's
always
great. Gotten back to me.
I'm just teasing. He's great. It's just that poor Terry Metalis and a lot of other creators get bombarded, and I see that they block and mute a lot of people, and it's like, so I'm like, oh, let me just not bother them. I'll just wait. an episode and see what happens. And it's not just Terry Metalis, it's like a lot of folks, and I've been experiencing questions. I think I'm giving the impression that I know all 10 episodes, because folks are DMing me and saying like, just tell me what happens in episode 10, and I'm like, I don't know, I promise. I swear. So I swear I have not seen past this episode.
Oh, and I do want to say,
Yeah.
I just want to say really quick, I'm sorry. I'm really excited that they finally, this has nothing to do with Picard, but I just want to say this. I'm really excited that they finally announced Starfleet Academy. Thank God. Like, we've all known it for years, but thank God they're finally doing it. Yay!
Did they announce it?
Yeah.
Yes, they
That
did.
is so cool.
Yeah, they announced it earlier today.
Yeah.
It's
And
set in,
it's
it's set in the
set in the
future
32nd,
Discovery
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
It's set in
32nd
Discovery.
century.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Discovery.
Which means Tilly might be in it.
Probably featuring Tilly, and Tony Newsom
Yeah.
will be on the writing team.
Yes,
Yep.
and my what's his name? The director. What's his Kovich? Is it Kovich? His character?
Yes.
What?
You think he'll be in
What?
it too?
I'm sure he'll be in it. He's got to be in it. He should be.
Also,
in it.
I want to thank Toddy for saying that the 32nd century is the future, because it's
Yes.
like right now is the 25th. I love that you like that's where your brain went. 'cause
I
mine does that
default
all the
to
time.
Picard is the
Yes.
present. Fenris
Yes.
Rangers is the present. Or
1000%.
whatever the show it's going to be, but that's the future.
Totally agree with you.
And it's all the future to us. Braxton, final thoughts and ratings.
So this episode gets a 6 from me. You know, it started out on a high note. I was like, ooh, Tuvok. And then, you know, I felt deflated that it wasn't him. You know, and then this episode was just kind of like, meh, for me, like through most of it. And then the changelings were about to take the bridge, and Seven was walking up to the turbo shaft. And I was like, oh, they about to get it. And then like she like goes and she's like, oh, like what's in here? And she like doesn't look at the floor, doesn't look at the ceiling. She like turns around, and then they're behind her with like a gun to her head. I was like, really, dude? Like this is what y'all are doing to me, you know? So I was really, really disappointed by that, and that's how I just kind of felt about the episode. And then I was like, oh, they have to like give us something, like tell us about Jack. And we don't get that, you know. So I just give this episode a 6. Like it's just like, man, it's okay.
I give
mostly I was
this episode of
disappointed.
Starfleet. I give this episode of Starfleet So Hail lots of purrs. I love those purrs. Trev, you're next.
I won't nitpick about the plan anymore because I've said it 1,000 times. Performances were through.
Wait till the salon.
I'll wait till the
have an
salon.
answer by
Yeah,
I'll
wait
have
till
an
the
answer
salon.
by the salon.
I will have had plenty of drinks by then, and
There was no plan.
there was no plan. The plan was we don't have a plan. The plan was turn off the lights and invite them over.
I think
Um,
that's the way to get
was super
nice.
awkward.
Sorry, wait, turn off
Yeah.
the lights and what? Wait, turn off.
and turn off the lights and invite them over. It'll be fine. What could go wrong? So yeah, overall, like you know, raved about the performances and can't rave enough. I think so far, this episode gave us some of the best performances that we've seen. So overall, wasn't my favorite. I kind of nitpicked about the plan. I nitpicked about the plot sort of stopping so that we could have this lots of chase scenes and shooting through force fields, which I'm sure on rewatch will be perfectly fine. So I give it 8 out of 10 unnecessary force fields.
That's a very high rating. Stanley, will you tell us your thoughts and a rating if you like?
Sure. I was leaning towards an 8 because this one was a little wonky for me, but through our discussion, I'm bumping it up to a 9. Not my highest rating, but there's a lot of really good elements in this episode that on several rewatches and then hearing various thoughts made me think about more. Not only, like others have said, incredible performances. Gates stands out to me, and Amanda Plummer is just delightful. The thing about villains is they don't think they're villains. They think that what they are doing is justified.
True.
And I work in politics. There is no phrase that is more triggering for me on a professional sense than both sides. Because here in America, we have one party that is cartoonishly evil and targeting trans kids and the most vulnerable among us because they have no plan to do anything about real issues. And then we have a party that keeps promising us a trip to Disneyland and just not delivering on it. Like they are not the same. And so saying both sides really frustrates me. This
I don't know if
episode
you
gave us
I don't know if you
a
saw
really good example of both sides being valid in their opinion of you fucked up. You wronged us, right or wrong. Like what Section 31 did was wrong. Starfleet not giving them the cure once Bashir developed it was wrong. Odo didn't exactly steal it, but him giving it to the lead changeling was not authorized. Going to the Great Link may not have been authorized, and that was wrong. So, like, her reasons I disagree with going on to kill other people, but I get it. The Starfleet messed up. The changelings are evil, but genocide on either end is not right. So 9. I give it a 9.
Nice.
Everyone sucks in Star Trek.
I don't know if you saw, speaking of Disney, but I don't know if you saw what happened in Florida today, but Disney may end up saving us all. So that was cool. Guys, this was such a pleasure. Folks, you can find PJ over on Boat Wreck, which, PJ, did you do a show today, or are you going to do one on Friday?
Friday, probably, yeah.
Excellent. I'll try to be there.
Friday
Good, I don't
night.
have to do it.
Ken, is there a new video out this week for Talk About It?
Not a new one, not a new Star Trek one, but we had Brent Spiner out earlier today, and then what would have just dropped within the last 10 minutes is, I think, the third Todd Stashwick video, which I don't think we've premiered before, where he makes a direct reference to the Star Trek on Talk About It and work. So take a look.
Excellent. Toddy and I have some news on Saturday, so check out our big news that it's going to premiere on Trek on the Tube. So stay tuned for that. And Toddy, what else is going on over on Trek on the Tube?
I went on Wish, and I bought a whole bunch of like crap Star Trek things on Wish to see what they look like. And so eventually I'll be releasing that video sometime soon.
How
It's
many
just
things
me
did you order?
goofing around with packages, opening them.
Nice.
But otherwise, yes, Saturday we have an announcement, and I'll release it on my channel, and then you can feature it on the live stream, and then there you go.
Crusher Convo, thank you for reminding me. Jill is on at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Is that what it's called, right? EDT? Yeah, Eastern Daylight Time. I would think of Eastern Standard Time, but we're in Daylight Time. 9 p.m. tonight. So they will be on at 9, and I'll see you guys there as well. Marcelo, what's going on over on your channels?
Yeah, well, if PJ's gonna do a Friday night thing this week, I don't have to do one. I'll probably be with him most likely. But I have a live stream watch along coming up next month. I'll be watching one of my favorite Star Trek episodes with a bunch of people that have done panels with me before. So just keep an eye out on my Twitter. It's CreekFanatic88 to get updates about that stream. And also on my Twitter, you can find links to all my different podcasts and all my other YouTube channels as well that I have. Right
on. So yeah, go check out Crusher Convo at 9 p.m. Braxton, you can find him as Leviathan62
026.
026. I'll get it right one day. That's so terrible. Braxton, can you put your
Still think you're a changeling?
Oh yes, I'm gonna have to put it in my name there.
That way I can just
next time, dude. Next time.
Changeling Sohail can just read it and pretend he's real Sohail. So there you go. Trevin Stan, Salon is going on tonight at its usual time, 6 p.m. Pacific. No, 6:30 p.m. No, sorry.
Nope.
Let them tell
keep
us.
trying. Nope. No. I want Sohail to get it right.
Okay. Sorry. 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. I did the math. There we go.
I'm about to tweet about it. So if you go to OnlyStans85 on Twitter, There will be a tweet with it shortly.
And I will retweet your tweet. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Thank you, audience, for being here with us. Pleasure to be with you guys. Yeah, I guess next week we're gonna see how everything lands and falls. I was so excited to talk to you guys next week because, yeah, I was
The plot
surprised.
is landing.
What is the plot is landing? Is that what you
The
said?
plot is landing.
Oh my gosh!
We'll
I want to
see.
tighten his. I want to tighten his landing. Sure. By the way, all the starships can land. Just FYI, just so you know. All right.
It'll be like
Live long and
yeah,
live long
it'll
and
be like-
prosper, everyone.
Yeah.